everybody, I'm Noreen and welcome to my kitchen and Happy New Year. Today is January 1st, 2012. The first year, the first day of the end of the world. What do you know? Well, I'm not here to talk about that. Today is New Year's Day, and in my family we have a traditional New Year's meal which includes a couple of things. We're going to do videos on just, I think, 3 things today, but the main part of our meal is stuffed cabbage and a roasted pork loin. And what we're going to focus on in this video is stuffed cabbage. Now, I grew up with, you all know I talk about my nanny, who is my German grandmother, a lot. My Mommom, who is my Hungarian grandmother, she's the one who I learned how to make kiflis from, and she's the one that I've learned how to make stuffed cabbage from. Now, Nanny made stuffed cabbage as well, and really, I didn't spend a lot of time with Mommom after I was like 10 or 11 because we moved across the country, but in spirit, she was with me, and I have learned how to make stuffed cabbage, and it's my father's ultimately favorite meal ever. He gets it once a year. I don't really know why I don't make it more often, except for the fact that, you know, maybe if I made it all the time, it wouldn't be special anymore. So we make stuffed cabbage once a year, and sometimes I make it twice, but it takes a while. It takes patience. It's really easy to put together, and it has very few ingredients, and it's really, really economical. You can make this as cheap or as expensive as you like. For New Year's, we do a combination of meats, and I'm going to bring Rick over here. I'm going to show you everything that goes in it first. So we have cabbage. Now, if I'm making stuffed cabbage, I'm making stuffed cabbage. I'm not going to make one head of cabbage. I'm going to make a bunch because these freeze really well after they're cooked. And then you can just pull a pan of stuffed cabbage out of the freezer and pop it in the oven, and dinner is ready. You just make some mashed potatoes and you're good to go. So we've got cabbage. I also use sauerkraut. Now, there's a point of contention with this. There's several different ways to make stuffed cabbage, you know. For as many people who come from Eastern Europe, there are as many different ways to make stuffed cabbage. The Germans make stuffed cabbage, Hungarians, Czechoslovakians, Russians, Polish people make stuffed cabbage, and they all make it a little bit different. My mom always puts sauerkraut in hers, and sauerkraut's made from cabbage, so it makes perfect sense. Okay, so I use a combination of meat. I use veal, beef, and pork, all ground meats. You can choose to leave, you can use all beef, you can use ground turkey. I do not like ground turkey. You can use all ground turkey, you can use all ground beef. I would not suggest using all ground pork or all ground veal. These 3 together make a perfect combination. They make a very, very tender end product, and it's very, very delicious. It's stuffed cabbage is what?
Flavorful.
It is flavorful. Stuffed cabbage is peasant food. This is what peasant farmers made to eat because this is what they had. And a lot of times they didn't have meat, so it was stuffed exclusively with rice or barley or oats even. It just depends on what region of the world you were in. In any case, my stuffed cabbage also has tomatoes. I use 2 kinds. I use diced tomatoes and crushed tomatoes, or these are peeled and ground tomatoes. It's crushed tomato product. We use rice. You can use long grain rice. I'm using the par cooked rice because it cooks a little bit quicker. And tomato juice. That's really all that goes in here. There aren't a lot of seasonings. I don't put any salt or pepper in the meat mixture. There are no eggs in the meat mixture. This is strictly steam cooked inside the cabbage rolls with the tomatoes, and you salt it at the end because everybody has their own salt preference. The only thing I do add to my meat is a little bit of garlic powder and a little bit of onion powder, but that's it. So, with all of that explanation out of the way, I'm going to kind of move my stuff here. I'm going to bring my mixer bowl over, and I'm just going to put my meat in my mixer bowl. This is the quickest, I think, best way to mix the meat because it really incorporates everything completely. And it doesn't, you don't get your hands, you don't, this is cold meat, you know, I hate putting my hands in cold meat because it hurts. And you have to mix this for a while because you need to get all of this incorporated really well. So what we're going to add to the meat, we're going to put the meat, we're going to put some rice, and we're going to put a good amount of tomato juice. But the first thing I'm going to do is, wow, this does not want to open, does it? And I got these swanky fingernails now, and I can't pull things like I used to. I used to have fingernails a long time ago, before I had kids. And, you know, when you're canning and everything, and I just, you know, sometimes I don't treat myself as well as I probably should. So I just quit doing the nail thing, but I put some nails on my hands last week, and I really forgot how much I liked it, and several of you commented on it in a couple of videos I did last night. So, alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in here with the paddle attachment, and this is going to be fun. Alright, we just want to mix this around, but I am going to put my shield on here so it doesn't, there we go, just on low, and get that meat mixed together. This is the best way to mix your meat, I think, because look at it, there's just no effort at all. Let the machine do the work. We have these wonderful conveniences. We should use them. I don't know what I'd do without my mixer. I think it's one of the best things Rick ever gave me for Christmas. I actually have two of them because when we were first together, he surprised me and he bought me this smaller version. And a year when I didn't think I was going to get anything for Christmas, and he surprised me with that one. I almost died. But then we graduated to this about 3 years ago, I think, and I just love it. I still have the other one. It's in the top of my bedroom closet. All right, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to add some tomato juice to this. And honey, if you want to turn that on just one notch. There we go. Whoa. You're fine. Okay, you can put it back. You're going to put more in there than you think you should. Get that mixed up in there. Huh? It's what?
Escaping again.
No. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to put some rice in there. And honestly, this is bad. I don't really measure. I'm probably going to use a half a bag of this rice. You have to, I know this is going to sound silly too. Stuffed cabbage is, like I said, it's peasant food. It's done by feel, and however much, you know, we've got about 6 pounds of meat. And so I'm probably going to use about a half a pound of rice. So, which at least a cup, you know, there's probably 2.5 cups of rice in this bag.
Just gonna stay on.
Yeah. Now we want to mix this up. And I think I'm going to add a little more tomato juice in there. The one thing you don't want is a dry center. You want to make sure it's nice and moist. And I probably added about 2 cups of juice. I don't measure this. It's just a matter of feel, you know, and after you make it, you'll understand. And then I'm gonna take this in just a second here, and I'm gonna feel it. That is just perfect. It feels a little bit wetter than you think it should, but it holds together really well. It smells just like it should. It smells like tomato juice. Mm-hmm.
Well, good.
It does smell good. Looking. I think I am going to add just a little bit more rice, though.
You want to put the seasoning in?
And I'm going to put my garlic powder, my onion powder in. Thank you, sweetheart. I would have forgotten. And this, again, is a matter of preference. My mother... I'm going to do... There's a lot of meat here, so 2 to 3 teaspoons. So 3 teaspoons is a tablespoon. Don't forget that. That was onion powder. My mother did make this when I was growing up, I think twice. She hates making this. It's not her favorite meal, but my dad adores it, and everybody in my family really, really likes it. I don't know, had you had stuffed cabbage before you met me?
No, it grew on me.
It grew on it. Micah doesn't eat the cabbage part, she only eats the middle. And then what I do at the end, if you run out of cabbage leaves, I just make it into little meatballs and put it on the top of the pan, and they make like little porcupines. So I'm going to mix this in here. I'm going to add in a little more juice. And you just wouldn't think that the juice would get all incorporated in there with the meat, but it does. That I did not put this above a 1 when I was mixing it, because you don't want to get your meat all tough. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go for just a second. I'm going to clean up my mess. I'm going to put some things in the dishwasher, and then when I come back, I'm going to show you how to prep the cabbage. I'm back. We got the meat. I just mixed up. I actually did add just like a handful more rice in there, because after I got my hands in there and felt it, I realized that I wanted a little more rice in there. So there's probably 3 cups of rice in here.
Did you ever explain what those were?
The shower crabs?
Yeah.
I have, yes. I use them a lot. Mm-hmm. So I just covered it and I'm setting it aside. Now we have to deal with the cabbage. Now, you'll notice that I do not have a giant pot of boiling water on my stove. For those of you who are familiar with making cabbage rolls or klumpki or stuffed cabbage, you know that traditionally you have to boil the cabbage and then you peel off the cooked outer leaves and then you put it back in the pot and you just keep doing that. Phooey! Who has time for that nonsense? So, let's prep our cabbage. Please use a very sharp paring knife and some common sense. You need to remove the core from this cabbage. So what you are going to do is you are going to carefully insert your knife around the perimeter of the core at somewhat of an angle. And you're just going to continue doing that until you kind of come all the way around. And then as you can see.
So you can't do it like lettuce?
No, you can't. When you do lettuce, you can bang the head on the counter and then the core will just pull out. But cabbage is different. But that is the nasty core, but the core goes deeper than that. So I actually do go back in here, and if you hold it close and kind of use a sawing motion, and then I'm just gonna kind of twist my knife in here.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Your pineapple core wouldn't work?
I'm pretty sure it would not, because it's plastic and this cabbage is very hard and it probably would break it. But you see, when you get down into here, the core is completely gone because you start to hit like leafage, if you want to call it that. So, and do not put this cabbage down your garbage disposal because you will break it. Especially the core, don't do that. So I'll have to clean that out of my sink. But, now what we're going to do, I'm going to put some water in the bottom of this bowl. About that much. You want to have a bowl big enough that's going to fit your head of cabbage. And I'm going to put the head of cabbage, core side down in there. I'm going to put a hat on it. I'm going to put this in the microwave for 10 minutes on high. And then I'm going to check it. It may need to go another 5 minutes. But in my house, if I put the microwave on for more than 10 minutes, it blows the breaker. So, and it's just because my house is old. So, in the microwave it goes. And we'll be back in 10 minutes, and I'll show you what that's supposed to look like. All right, I did give this another 5 minutes, so it was in the microwave for 15 minutes. So what you want to do is you want to get yourself a nice big scooping mechanism. And I'm just going to set it here in this pan. Let me take this out too. And I'm going to take my other cabbage that I prepped, and I'm going to put it right down there in that hot water, and put the hat back on it. And while we're dealing with this one can be having its little sauna. So, let's see. All right.
What a neat little trick.
It works fabulously well. Now, you must have asbestos fingers, or you're going to have to wait for this to cool off just a little bit. You want to take the leaves, and it is best if you flip this over. Because you're going to want to peel the leaves off of here. Just like that.
Asbestos fingers.
I do have asbestos fingers, that's true.
Not everybody does.
No, not everybody has asbestos fingers. I realize this. You want whole leaves as best as you can. I mean, it's not going to be tragic if you don't have whole leaves, but
Tammy, you don't like cabbage?
I don't know that, Daddy. And it, you know, it does help if you used to hand. This is extremely hot, though, I have to say. Now, I used to do this where I would cut the cabbage in half and do half of a head at a time, but you get much better looking rolls if you use a whole leaf. So you're gonna have to let the cabbage guide your way. It'll tell you where it wants to be and which one it wants you to pull off next. See, when you get down into the middle, these are really good, nice leaves to use for this. Now, when you get a little further, closer to the core, you're not going to want to use those because they're not going to be. This is probably as big, small as you want it. That's a good one too. I think I see maybe one more here. And they're going to make varying sizes. This, you're going to just chop up, and we're going to use it in between the layers. Because really, this is a dish that's as much of a meat dish as it is a vegetable dish. And when you mix the cabbage and the tomato together and it stews, it's really, really delicious. All right, so I did want to mention, before I did anything with the meat, I took my rings off. Please don't do this with your rings on. And if you have artificial fingernails, which I do.
Hey, are they all there?
They're all here. You want to make sure they're all present and accounted for, especially if you're cooking for guests. If you would choose to put on some gloves, that would be a good idea. If you don't want to get it under your fingernails, I copiously and very intently scrub underneath my nails with a nail brush on a regular basis, so that is not an issue. All right, so we're going to start constructing this, and I'm going to have to spread out a little here. Oh, this bottle. I usually do this at my kitchen table, but the lighting is much better over here, And we have to get some new bulbs for our dining area because the lighting is so bad, and when we use the camera over there, it's just not good. So I'm just gonna set up over here. And then what I may do is I'm gonna show you how to do, at least I'm gonna show you how to do one layer, then I'm gonna do the rest of it, and I'm gonna show you what it looks like before we put it in the oven. So, what we have to do first.
Thanks, Casey. You want some cabbage too?
Yeah. First, I need the can opener. And I realize I'm doing this step by step. And I've had so many of you say you really like it when I do that so that you don't miss one thing. I'm just opening my cans now, and I probably could have done that off camera, but so be it. Welcome to my kitchen.
I'll just show the dogs while you're doing that.
Okay, a little canine interlude. Alright, so we do that. I'm going to open up my sauerkraut. And if you hand me a Stormy bowl, then that'd be great. Thank you, sweetheart.
Now you get a lot of questions on Stormy Bowl.
I think I've called these Stormy bowls before.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, where we used to live, is a potter. She actually doesn't live there anymore either, but her name was Stormy. She has a company called Windstorm Pottery. And she made these rice bowls, and I absolutely love them. All right, so.
We use them every day.
We do, every day. Let's take cabbage leaf. You want to cut the core out. You don't want to serve that. Just like so. And you want to kind of overlap it, just like that. And now you're going to get some meat. That's too much. If you think that you have not enough meat, you have just the right amount of meat. Okay, and you just roll it up, just like that. Now, we have to do a little bit to our pan. So, remember this cabbage that we had from the middle? That in the bottom. Put a little bit of sauerkraut. Now, you can use any kind of sauerkraut you like. It can come out of a can, it can come out of a jar. I like the stuff that you get in a bag at the deli section or in where they have the lunch meats. This is Boar's Head today because it was quick and easy to grab at the deli when I ran the store. Okay. And some of the crushed tomato. And then this is not for the faint of heart. This is a messy job. But the end result will make you very happy. So basically what you're doing is you're creating a bed on which the cabbage is going to steam. And you're going to put your little cabbage roll right in there. And then you just keep going. And this is one of the outer leaves of the cabbage. And that's probably, I'm going to cut the rib out. And as you keep going, you'll get better, I promise. And this is like totally disintegrating. All right. Sometimes those outer leaves do that, so don't worry. That's why you bought 3 heads of cabbage, because you always want to err on the side of caution. You always want to have enough. I don't think there's any chance that we're not going to have enough. And you're going to roll it up like a burrito and put it right there. And this isn't what do I say all the time? This isn't rocket science. It's cooking. You can't make any mistakes. But if you've never made stuffed cabbage before, I would make this on a small scale for yourself before I would make it for guests. That's my only suggestion. This is a labor of love, just like a lot of my other holiday recipes.
And a lot of these will fall apart once they're cooked, but no big deal.
They will. That is very true. Now I put that other cabbage, I put in the microwave for 10 minutes, but since I'm doing this, add a little more meat to that one. I'm just gonna let it sit in there. It's gonna steam, so by the time I'm ready for it, it'll be perfect. And the rolls from the outer leaves are always gonna be larger, so they're the ones that everybody wants. They always want the big ones. And like I said, when I get toward the end, I will make several of the meatballs just from the meat filling, which are really, really wonderful. And I just feel like, you know, I remember my grandmother spending 2 days making stuffed cabbage. I just don't think it's necessary. We should be able to have the things that we love, and we should be able to use modern conveniences to prepare them. And I don't think that it should be that hard. I think it should be very easy. And I think that we need to find different ways to do things. See, there's a slice out of that leaf, but who cares? We're going to put it right there. It's going to cook, and it's going to be happy. Okay. There. See, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's a dozen in there now. Let me bring this over here. All right, sauerkraut. And then what I'm going to do is, since I don't feel like moving the pan again, I'm just going to break these last leaves in the pan up with my hands. They'll be fine. And this one is super soft. And these, this sauerkraut's not very juicy. I don't usually use the juice from the sauerkraut anyway. This isn't a very juicy bag of sauerkraut, so. The rest of this can of diced tomatoes. Beautiful. Crushed tomatoes. And honestly, what I think is I'm not going to put a second layer on this pan. I have a second pan, and I'll just do that. And I'm going to repeat this pan one more time. And it's all good. Now, the only other thing that I do here is tomato juice. There's a lot of rice in there. You need to give that rice enough moisture to cook in. Now, when you take the foil off of this after it's baked, it'll all have been absorbed. So,
And you'll see that.
and you will see that. So let's see, what happens next? What happens next is I grab a piece of parchment paper, because this is a tomato-based product. And tomato acid eats aluminum foil. Now, you can purchase aluminum foil that's lined with parchment paper now. If that is your preference, that's fabulous. I think that's a great new product. I have yet to try it, but I'm sure it's wonderful. So, I'm going to do heavy-duty foil. And make sure you pinch the edges really well, thusly. Do another. Beautiful. And just for good measure, put one on top. Because we have a seam here, and the seam is going to escape through that. And this will help it. Let's see. That's good. All right, I'm just going to go. I'm going to repeat what I just did here. I'm going to set my oven up. I'm going to set this aside on a baking sheet because it's very heavy. You don't want to have to lift that out because, you know, aluminum foil isn't always the most reliable thing. And, you know, while I'm looking at this, I wanted to, not too long ago, I did a recipe where I used those crushed tomatoes, and I was very excited because the can wasn't lined with plastic. Well, I'm looking at my sink at these two cans, and this is an excellent example. And I know this is so totally random. I don't know if you can see that. Mm-hmm. This can has white lining. This can does not. This can is just the metal. This can you can keep and bake in it. This can, I know now that I can't buy this brand anymore because this is lined with plastic, which most likely has BPA in it, or bisphenol A. And I know it's not probably a happy topic to discuss right now, but bisphenol A is known to cause cancer on many levels. They're lining all of our cans with it. And when you find a brand that doesn't have that inside, that's the brand you need to buy. So that's just my little aside. And I
want to point out that if you're doing food storage, you won't want to buy this and have it sitting on your shelf with all that plastic in it.
Because it will leach.
Yes. If you can find the ones without the plastic in it, if you're going to store them
right
in a length of time.
I agree. But when you do store tomatoes, you want to make sure that you rotate through them on a regular basis because the acid in the tomato will actually rupture the seal on the can. This can doesn't actually have a seam. It's just the top and the bottom. But still, we go through tomatoes very quickly. In any case, I just noticed that I wanted to point it out to you. So I'm going to finish this other pan. And then I'm going to bring you back when I'm ready to put this in the oven. I am going to preheat my oven to about 350, 375 degrees. And then I'll be back in just a bit. Okay, we're back. As you can see, I've got 2 pans of stuffed cabbage. There's a dozen in this first pan, and then there's 16 in this pan. I used both heads that we prepared. I actually bought 3 heads of cabbage. And I could have done all 3 because I had a ton of meat left over. So let me show you what I did. I always make some porcupines, which is what I call them because they have rice in them. And when they cook in the tomato sauce, they look like porcupines because the rice will stick out of them. But I made, I don't know, there's roughly 16 in here. But I used a 3-ounce disher, and I made a rather large size meatball, larger than I make when I make my crock pot meatballs or my oven baked meatballs, larger than that. So we're going to bake these alongside the stuffed cabbage because, like I said, Micah doesn't like the cabbage. She really only likes the filling, and so does my mom. So I ended up with about 2 pounds of meat left over. Because initially I was only going to do pork and beef, and then yesterday we went to the specialty grocery store, and I thought since I was there I would get the veal. And the 2 pounds of veal that I bought kind of put me over the top. So we've got the meat mixture, and this is the mixture with the beef, pork, and veal, and the tomato juice, and the garlic, and the onion powder, and the rice. So I went ahead and I just put it in a freezer bag, and then I put that freezer bag, I took all the air out of it, and put that freezer bag inside of another freezer bag. I'm just going to stick these in the freezer because maybe in March, this will be a no-brainer dinner. I can thaw this out on a Sunday morning, and I can make it into meatballs, and I can put it in the pan like this, and we'll have porcupines for dinner. And I won't have to think about it, and I won't have to spend any extra money on it because it'll already have been done. And then this extra cabbage that I have over here, I'm going to put these in the oven. Put one down there, and since I have these porcupines, this isn't a very large pan, so I can just stick that right inside next to that one. My oven is preheated at 350 degrees, but my oven runs 25 degrees hot, so it is 375. I'm going to let it sit there at 375 for about an hour, and then I'm going to turn it down to 350, where 350 would be on my oven. And then we're going to let those cook for 3 to 4 hours. When I can start to smell them, I'm going to pop one out of the oven and check it. I'll check the porcupine meatballs because that will give me every indication that the others are finished. So when these are ready to come out of the oven and I check them, I'll bring you back here so I can show you what they're supposed to look like. Okay, there we go. Our stuffed cabbage is done, and it was in the oven for 2.5 hours, and it looks like it's perfectly cooked. I have removed one from here already, but I'm going to take one out for you. And this is what a perfectly cooked cabbage roll should look like. And then if you'll hang on just a second, I'll move this stuff out of my way. Now, we'll cut it in half so you can see the inside. And I have another one over here that I took out, and the meat is perfect. It's cooked all the way through. The rice is cooked all the way through, and that right there is what our traditional New Year's Day dinner looks like. There you have it. Stuffed cabbage my way. I hope you try this, and I hope you enjoy it. And I hope that you have a very blessed, prosperous, and happy 2012. Until next time, Happy New Year!